Hi, it's Stephanie Palmer from the Quilter's Planner and Late Night Quilter. Welcome to my free motion quilting tutorial videos for long armors. So we're going to start with the first week's design, which is simple loops or cursive L's. It's really quite simple, but also really versatile. It works across an entire quilt in large scale, and it works in tiny micro quilting scale on the inside of a different shape that you may have on a quilt block. You can really use it anywhere. So here we go. Let me show you how I do it.
Okay, so we're going to do free motion loops or cursive L's. First, we're going to bring up the bobbin thread. So I drop the needle down while I'm holding the top thread, lift the needle up, and you see I pull and you can see that there's the bobbin thread comes right up. I like to swipe it under that way, and then I don't have to move things around too much. And now I'm going to hold these two threads in my left hand and gently pull while I drop up and down a few times to do micro stitches. And that's instead of knotting and burying, which I would do if it was a quilt that I really didn't want anybody to see the stops and starts on. Most of the time I don't knot and bury though. Okay, let's do our simple loops. We're going to just take a nice breath and start our machine off. I'm at 12 stitches per inch. You can do 10 or 11 or 12. And we're going to do nice and gentle. You see I've marked in some lines for myself. These guidelines help me keep my cursive L's to be a consistent size. Your L's might slant to the right or the left a little bit, and that's okay. It's totally up to you. It's kind of like your handwriting when you're doing cursive. Everybody has their own handwriting. I'm going to do some micro stitches again, and now at the finish of this row, I'm going to bring the bobbin thread up. So I pull my machine away and grab onto that top thread, and when I pulled away like this, it made the bobbin thread grow underneath as well. So I come back to where I left off, drop the needle down, pull it back up, and there's my bobbin thread. And then I can just trim, I left my scissors over there, right there at the base, and it's nice and tidy. My stops and starts are tidy. So let's do it again. And this was about an inch, and you see mine are not all perfectly the same size or shape. I'm not a perfectionist. That's just not my personality. So I'm okay with that. I like the whimsical nature of it. I say that all the time because it's true. It's just how I quilt. So let's try it again, and let's try doing one top row and inverting the bottom row, and let's see how that looks. It's funny how you have to do that all the time, and at the beginning it seems like very arduous to have to secure your thread that way every time, but you get really used to it. Let's just do a short little spurt. You can also play around with making these skinnier, closer together. All right, let's go like that. Now you have an option here to go upside down. You need to practice drawing this first so your brain knows where to go. You can stay right here and reverse it. I'm going to go like this, backwards. Or if you're really uncomfortable going from right to left, or if your machine doesn't really like to sew that way, and some long arms can have that problem, you can knot your thread here, break it, and start over on the left and go upside down that way. I like to do either, it just depends on my mood. Right now, I think I'm going to go ahead and, well, let's just do it this way. But I do need to pause and let my brain have a minute to think what direction I'm going and think it out. So I'm going to start here and go like that, okay? So let's do that. Practice drawing it at home, and you'll find you'll get into the flow of it. I don't have another guideline here. I didn't think ahead and draw one for you, but I think it's really helpful to put one because I think a tendency, as you see here, is to make this row a little bit longer and this row maybe a little bit shorter, the loops. If you draw a nice guideline, you're going to help yourself with that. But even with that, it looks really cute. This is an awesome border design. It looks really, really pretty. It's got a nice little flourish to it, and it's one of my favorite little border designs. So let's bring up our bobbin thread there, and I'm going to cut all of these off so it's nice and tidy. I don't really like to leave my threads hanging around because it distracts me when I'm quilting. I also want you to consider using these loops in large form. They are great when you need to do an edge-to-edge free motion design. This right here is a 3-inch size, which is a nice size for an edge to edge, but it would be slightly more dense edge to edge. You could do 4, you could practice doing 5 inches. The bigger you get, it's a little bit harder to stay smooth. It's easier to stay smooth at this 1 inch size, but it's definitely worth practicing. So let's give it a try. This is the 3 inch size. I'm a little bit close to my bar down there. I don't think you can see it, but I don't want to take the time to roll, so I'm going to just go with it and see if I can do that. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch probably 2, and then I'm going to need to take a step gently over. I'm saying this to you, but I'm also telling my camera lady here that I don't want to bump into her or step on her toe. So here we go. Let's see if we can make these nice and big and smooth. I'm a little bit close to my bar, so I'm not quite going down to that line there. Oh, I didn't even need to take a step. I was wrong. There we go. That would be a fun edge-to-edge design. And it would be even more fun if you flipped your bottom row upside down and you did these in pairs, like rows of 2, right side up and upside down. I would love to have that on a quilt. And it would leave your quilt really nice and soft and cozy. Okay, I'm going to show you another thing that you can do with these simple loops. So let's move over here to where I have a circle quilted out. I'm going to show you how we do L's and E's, and that's the 3rd week of the design, and it's like the cousin to the simple cursive L. So let's secure our thread. I brought up my bobbin, and now I'm going to actually say out loud while I'm quilting L and E. Otherwise, if I don't, I forget what I'm doing and I start to do all L's or all E's. So let's just talk to ourselves. L, E, L, E. Just like cursive in grammar school. Don't you feel so sorry for those kids who are not learning cursive? How are we going to teach them the free motion quilt? So just like our L's that we were doing before, you can reverse this as well and create a beautiful little border for yourself. And you can break thread and come back over here if you like working left to right, or if you feel bold, you can work right to left. Take a second, think, how am I going to flip this upside down? You can also alternate, which I think is what I did in the planner, where I did underneath an L, I did an E. And underneath an E, I did an L. Just depends what look you like. I'm going to keep it consistent with the L's underneath and the E's. And here we go. L, E. L, E. L, L, E. L, E. L, E. L. And then when I finish, I try and kind of meet up in the corner because it gives it a nice clean look. There you go. L's and E's. Isn't that pretty? It's like beautiful decorative scroll work. If I were actually doing this on a quilt, and if this corner area was kind of visible in the quilt, I would knot and bury there, because if you sink your thread in and do micro stitches, it can have some thread buildup, and especially if you're using a contrasting thread like I am here today. So that's an example of when I would bother. And you can see here I'm not perfectly lined up, and that's okay. It looks pretty anyway. Now over here, I'm going to show you how you can use your L's and E's as a filler. And I did this earlier, and my video didn't work. So I'm just going to, I think you get the idea of how I do the L's and E's. I just filled this diamond, and you can actually even pretend that the diamond is piecework. Diamonds are a really popular piecing technique right now. And so you might have a diamond quilt, and you could do this dense quilting on every other diamond, and it would give a beautiful texture. You can, if you're a perfectionist, you can draw your lines in here and use it to keep it the same size. But as I said, that's really not my jam. I like things to be a little bit organic looking. If you are going to mark your quilt, here's one option. I'll do a whole video on all my favorite marking tools. This is an air erasing pen by Soline. And I often use this. It really has always come out for me. The only trouble with it is that It erases pretty fast. So you can't stop and go downstairs or have a cup of coffee or take a phone call, because you might come back and find that your line is really, really faint and you have to do your marking all over again. Since I have 4 kids, that happens to me all the time. So for that reason, sometimes I will use a water erasable pen instead. But Soline makes a really nice air erasable. Here's another air erasable pen, fabric marking pen. And you know what? The name of this is not even on it. I will have to look it up and see, and I'll put it in the notes below. But there's a few different brands out there, and they're always kind of a purpley blue color. Circles are really popular right now, both in piecing with curves and in quilting out circles. So to actually quilt this circle, I used one of Handy Quilter's circular rulers. And I'm going to do another video at another time and show you how to quilt that out. It's a different skill. But let's pretend that this is a pieced circle, or maybe you have just done a raw edge applique of a circle and you need to decorate that outer edge of the circle somehow. So this is a really great technique to use these loops, and it really requires that you practice doing your loops at all angles. So let's bring up our bobbin thread right on the line there of our circle. This is kind of where I like to start, in this upper right corner of the circle, but it's up to you. I'm going to secure right on the line there, and I'm going to do loops all the way around. You can choose to do loops all the same size, or you can do one large loop and one tiny loop, which is on the 3rd week of the planner. It shows you that design. So let's do that. I like the look of that for this particular skill, but you really could do either. Now this is where you're going to have to practice your drawing, because it gets kind of funny here. Your brain's going, oh, okay, things are changing. I'm upside down now. You might slant a little bit differently, but that's okay. Remember, we're not going for perfection. And this is what I meant with long threads distract me. I should have probably taken a second and trimmed it. But you know what? You can always stop and do that. Let's squeeze one more right in and finish. Look how cute that is. It's a great little design, especially if you had some pretty patterned fabric in here. Okay? So those are a couple of ideas for your free motion loops.